Alright guys, today we're doing something new. We're gonna do a series of discussions, basically.
Alright, so anyhow, we're gonna play a game in the background that kind of relates to our topic. Then we're gonna discuss something kind of video game related. And today, I kind of came up with this at work, so I mean, we don't really have a format down for it or whatever, but essentially we're just gonna have a discussion about so Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are coming out within a couple weeks, and we thought it'd be interesting to do a topic on what type of what we think should happen for the Kanto for a Kanto remake. If we do another remake, should there be another remake? Has enough time passed and all that stuff. So essentially, do you want to start off with kind of your opening thoughts on that, or?
Well, I think the primary reason for the remakes in the first place, Gen 1 and 2, was because we'd gotten so far away from, that it was impossible to get Pokemon from those games. Gen 3 is the first one where you can actually still connect to it. The problem is, at this point, it requires you to, have a DS Lite, or a DS or a DS Lite that has the Game Boy Advance adapter, pass it up to Diamond and Pearl, have a second DS, DS Lite, DSi, 3DS, whatever, and transfer it over to a Gen 5 game. And then...
I mean, but, like, even the Gen 1 and Gen 2s at this point are doing that too, so I think the biggest question arises if Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, if it's their turn to kind of be remade, do we need a remake of LeafGreen, FireRed? It has been a while, so that's the biggest question at hand right now, is how necessary is it to get a new one? Is it just for the novelty of being able to return to those universes? Would it be so that they can update it and do more Mega Evolution stuff? And what? So, what do you think in the way, like, let's say Nintendo wants to do this, they announce it right after the next game comes out. And they announce that it's going to be an exact remake. What do you think they should do there? Should they change it up, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, they're introducing a lot of stuff. They're bringing in new Pokemon, they're mixing up the world a little bit, and they're adding new things to explore. And FireRed and LeafGreen and Heart Gold and Soul Silver have both done that. So I think if we saw a FireRed or a LeafGreen, or maybe, actually, they could also do like a remake of Blue, which was kind of an enhanced version of Red and Green.
That's true,
but seeing whatever they would call it, I think it would be interesting to return to Kanto, especially because a large chunk of the Mega Evolutions we've seen so far
are Kanto
based, and I think it's a good setting that people would be interested in, but I don't know if it's entirely necessary.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Ruby or Sapphire ones, those remakes, I don't think they're fully necessary yet either. So, but here's what I'm kind of thinking would be cool. I think what they should do is they should make a sequel, or like kind of a sequel, like a Black and White 2 for LeafGreen, FireRed, Red, Blue, whatever, and that would allow for as kind of a sequel would allow for more of our a sequel would allow us to go back to the world of Red, Blue, maybe change up Kanto, have some new things going on, or yeah, what do you think? What are your thoughts on it? A sequel?
You know, if they could figure out something to do with the world in a new way. I mean, the problem with that is that Heart Gold and Soul Silver already went back to Kanto as well in the second half of the game. Just like Gold and Silver did.
Yeah.
So, it might be kind of retreading old ground. I mean, in Gold and Silver, even finish off Team Rocket and Giovanni.
That's a good question, though. Is that an adequate enough remake or
Fast asleep.
do you think we need
Falling asleep
a
is
return?
going to make this
Like,
a one-sided
if we can
fight.
justify a Ruby Sapphire remake, can we justify remaking a remake?
Oh boy.
That's
They
the hard
strike
part. That's
fighting poses.
the biggest question, especially
What's
when
this?
I don't know. 'Cause
The move
I can
fails
see
to
there's a lot of
click.
things they could do, and another option they could do is they could
Look out.
like almost
Neither
remake
one is
Yellow
receiving an inch.
in a remake Yellow in like
So kind of an
in
anime
more
based
of an
one.
anime based one, especially now with the 3DS, because that was just kind of like the technology basically allowed them to easily be able to allowed us to easily fuck you. It allowed us to easily the technology back in the day made it tricky to fully realize the or the anime. This was kind of set up like the anime, but now we could actually do one where the characters look like they're directly from the anime. We could actually have technology that makes it easier to kind of do that. Maybe even have like Brock and Misty follow you or whatever. I'm not sure though how. Fuck, I didn't even click A. I didn't do that, but.
Oh, it's game.
Oh fuck!
What a furious battle!
Oh, so those are memories.
Anyhow, oh shit, what was I thinking?
What now?
But like it could better convey the anime, but the question is, would Nintendo ever pull something like that?
What's that?
I don't know. I could see us getting a Yellow. And I think it would be a good way to
Fireworks are flying
To go
in
back
this
there
battle.
and do something original with it?
go back to the past, yeah.
And what would you think if they did almost like a middle ground between
What will it do?
between Yellow and like a Black 2 sequel type thing? You think that could be something more interesting?
What's this?
Are you talking a follow-up to the first games,
I'm talking
or
like,
a
what if
follow-up
you
to the anime?
what if you did if the follow-up to the original games, like Blue and stuff, and probably call it the Yellow remake or something, but so it works like Yellow where you get Pikachu, but it's a sequel to Kanto at the same time, so at the end you fight Red as the leader of the Elite Four still or something around those lines.
Okay, I could see that.
There's a
Or
distinct difference
another
in the number of
possibility, and
remaining
this could be cool,
Pokemon.
is completely shatter the archetype of all Pokemon. Every game, it's been the 8 gyms, the Elite Four, maybe a Battle Royale after, or whatever, and then in the case of Gen 2, we had the Kanto thing. Oh, it's me? What the fuck? What the fuck?
I got a critical hit on you, bro.
It's gay as fuck.
So what were you saying about the archetype?
Breaking the archetype and make it so you get different
The
Pokemon to start
Pokemon
off
are
with.
entirely different types.
Make it a sequel, but don't make it so you get the exact same Pokemon as before as your choice. You get a new. What are you doing? You get a
Go
new.
into battle poses.
Okay.
What
Maybe
now?
you start out with different Pokemon. Maybe
Goodness.
The only
Maybe
other triangle
you
is
see-
Dark, Psychic, and Fighting. Actually.
well, it doesn't have to necessarily be even that different, but I mean, different Pokemon to start off
Go
with.
down
I mean,
after a good fight.
You could potentially introduce, like, almost like Kanto as the universe, as the region that it takes place in, but we could use Kanto as the region it takes place in, but all the Pokemon are available or something around those lines, and that would
Okay.
allow for like maybe one,
Oh,
just
Revenant.
maybe it's or it's wild Pokemon that you get as
The
starters,
crowd's
or
excitement
maybe
is
we could
building
see
over
like
this hot battle.
like Granite, or we could see like Feroki as the water, Torchic as the thunder, and whatever, or something around that line. Or, just change it up
They're
and
staring each other
potentially
down.
do new things within that region. Because I think it's a region that it would be cool to revisit more and kind of give it its own flair
Yeah.
comparatively. But
Okay,
What
I
will
have
it
a
do?
little bit of one.
Oh, the attack net.
At what point
What
do we have
furious
to
battle.
remake Gen 4? should it be next console, or should it be sooner? Or...
Well, the thing is, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, was that 2010 or 11?
It's building energy for
That
the
was 11. I think it was 10 was
11. Must have been 11. Or like really late 10 maybe.
So that was 3 years between, but what 2004 or 5 is when
Fireworks are
is when,
flying in this battle.
is when
Ruby
LeafGreen and
Sapphire
FireRed came out. So that was almost a console generation, and now just a few,
Oh yeah, sorry.
and then now just a few years later, comparatively to Silver and Gold, I mean, 3 or 4 years is nothing comparatively to the like 6 or 7 years we had from FireRed and LeafGreen. So I don't know if they initially planned on making more remakes originally, and it made sense practically to make LeafGreen and FireRed at the time. So who knows if we're going to see another one this console generation or when they're going to do them? Because only now do we know it's officially going to be an ongoing thing. It wasn't until Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire that it was for sure it's not just going to be the first two and coming over. So it's going to be interesting to see like when they want to do it. And then also you got to consider when that's justifiable. Like they could easily probably make a Diamond and Pearl remake within like a year, but I mean, is it practical right now? Diamond and Pearl they're easily accessible games.
They're staring each other
So
down.
far, we've had one remake since the GBA on each console. Counting the whole DS.
But the thing is, I don't think when the DS started, they planned on making Silver and Gold.
No, the Silver and Gold ones came out really late.
Exactly. So I don't think it was planned to do that. And then that was so close to when the 3DS came out that the only viable medium for that to happen was if they released it pretty early in the DS's life.
You can't get drone types with Undertales, but
Oh shit! Yeah, I wasn't thinking. If they released it early on, within the life of the DS, and then it took until the 3DS for Ruby to come out, I would say it's a once a console thing, and I believe that. But I mean, like for the most part, except Game Boy Advance, every console's had 2 Pokemon games, aside from 3DS, which is the game's only been out for less than a year. So that explains that. But, I believe that we'll probably see Gen 7 by the end of the 3DS's life.
yeah, that's
Which
like
Pokemon is coming out?
So yeah, and then the question is too, is if we do see a Diamond and Pearl remake by the end of the 3DS, then we're catching up pretty quick. Like, are they gonna do one with each generation, like, from now on? Like, when Gen 7 comes out, then Aiden.
No, it is your team though.
Like, when Gen 7 comes out, are we gonna see a Gen 4 remake? Is that when what they're doing? You think they're doing it one generation? Or, like, when is it, like, you know?
Fire Blast!
It's hard to say. I mean,
The intense
it's
battle
strange to
continues.
think about, but it's a series that really needs to keep backwards compatibility. But it becomes unreasonable to assume that people have games that are... I mean, now Pokemon is, what, almost 20 years old?
They're staring each
I
other
mean,
down.
the first Pokemon game was
96, yeah. So, I mean...
18 years old. So it was 8 years between that. And actually, I think now it's about a decade between each, because the first one was 8 years between LeafGreen and the original one.
And it's down.
Gold and Silver came out 2000, and then a
Pokemon
decade
will be
later we
fighting
had
next.
About 10 or 11 years, and then...
that was 10 years, and then
Ruby
this
and
one
Sapphire
is
came out
2004.
2002?
2004, dude.
Really?
No, because I got it for like.
Oh, that's right.
I can look it up. I'm pretty sure it's 2003 or 2004.
I think it's 2003.
It was probably like November
They
03,
strike
early
fighting
04.
poses. Oh, it's Ryder!
So it's
Even
been
it's
about a
still-
decade. So
Yeah.
So are they going to wait a decade? Are we
Two
going to
different
see
kinds of
it
Pokemon.
2017, or are we going to have less than a decade between this one?
You know, I think part of, I mean,
Staring each other down.
right now, the oddity in the group is actually Heart Gold and Soul Silver. FireRed and LeafGreen didn't come out long after.
The trainer hasn't issued an order.
FireRed and LeafGreen show a good point of, I guess, comparison to the older games. And the Ruby Sapphire remakes are doing that as well. I
Okay, here it is. The initial Japan release was 2002. You're correct about that. But it took about 6 months, and it came out in America in 2003. So I thought it was either 03 or 04. It was 03. It was March of 2003, and I got it in May of 2003, I think. Then.
But I think look at the 3DS is about 3 years old now, which is about 3 years after the Game Boy Advance came out. We first saw FireRed and LeafGreen. I think part of the reason that they released them, not only does it draw in fans of the series who are a little bit older, but it's a good point of reference for how much things have changed. I mean, looking at especially Ruby and Sapphire compared to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the games are so wildly.
The Pokémon are entirely different types.
The games look like better than this right now, and it plays on a handheld. And when the originals came out, it was sprites. It was 2D sprites without animation and.
Yeah, and then here's another question though. Everyone was into Pokemon for the original generation. Like most kids when the game came out, the initial game came out, were big fans, and that was a nostalgia burst that was still easily compatible when the Game Boy Advance came out. That was a system seller at the time. Do you think the people who grew up with Gen 3 are going to be as nostalgic as Gen 1 to the point where it's actually worth capitalizing on?
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you look online, there's been a vocal, even before the Gold and Silver remakes were announced, there was a vocal group of people who wanted Ruby and Sapphire remakes. Because for a lot of the people who are playing games now, that was their first Pokemon game. Now those people are turning 18, they're going on the internet, and they're remembering fondly Ruby and Sapphire. Oh, sorry about that. I'm trying to press on.
Yeah, our eyes broke.
Yes.
But yeah, no, that's a question you gotta ask. Really, is like
how will the type difference
nostalgia. But no, I think they're gonna do good. And then the other thing is, I want to look at the exact North American remake. Are you sure it's the same?
Wait, what?
There's the attack.
I just want to know. So they're coming out. It's coming out the same day as Smash, right?
Yep. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Yep.
What'll it do? Boom!
I guess it is. I was gonna say the 21st is a pretty far away, but I mean we're
The
talking
heated battle
7 days.
rages on.
Not even 5 days.
5 days? Yeah.
5 days. It's the 16th.
It's the 16th. Oh yeah, 21st.
We're 5 days away from Smash Bros. And
we should probably look into how much
They're
that's gonna
staring each
cost.
other down.
it's gonna be a lot.
Well, I mean, I kind of want to know like an exact number.
Yeah, I know. We'll figure it out.
That'd be kind of nice. The 21st.
A
Yep.
psychic flash.
But let's
And then,
And
but the biggest question now that arises,
There's
like,
only one
especially I
Pokemon
think
left
the
in
21st is going to be a huge day for video game fans, especially the ones that are around our age. That
Oh,
are,
it's Machamp.
Melee,
The remaining
and,
Pokemon
like especially
are 2-1.
my two most
The
nostalgic
battle
games
continues.
from when I was a kid or a younger guy is when I was playing Ruby and playing Smash. So now, in the same day, we're getting both a Ruby remake And I would call the fourth game a lot more like a melee game than Brawl. It's a lot more like melee. So, in this respect, the 21st is probably one of the biggest days for video games, especially for our generation. Do you think this is gonna get more people to buy, especially like around our age, to invest in the Wii U, invest in the 3DS? Think this is the time to go back into it? Do you think this could get a more broader audience? Because a lot of people around the age of our generation too, a lot of people, especially the more casual audience, they're going into more, they're favoring things like the PS4, the Xbox One. Do you think this nostalgia burst, how good do you think it's going to help Nintendo on the sale? Do you think it's going to make a lot of money for people like us that still love Nintendo in this age? Or do you think they'll be able to win some of the audience that are more into like the Titanfall, the Skyrim, the Call of Duties, that type of more casual games? Or not casual, but
well, we know
wider.
for sure. We know for sure that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are going to be
huge hits.
Huge hits.
And same with Smash.
I mean,
but the question is, do you think that can draw an audience that's our age, or are we going to have people that are like, or do you think we're just going to have the same audience as before? Because, like, remember, even when we were kids, all the kids still had Ruby and Sapphire, and I think to an extent all the kids still have that, but do you think some of the social aspect of the game kind of dies, and with that, like I feel like part of the social aspect of the game died, some of the nostalgia died, but I don't really know how that
I think
relates,
both games have huge nostalgia values for the people who primarily play video games. So I think... Holy fuck, I think we're gonna see a lot of people buying the games. Especially because at this point, the 3DS is a really good selling console. Obviously, it hasn't captured DS numbers or Wii numbers.
Yeah, well,
but
that's
that's really gonna.
Well, I thought that 3DS was really good.
It is, but it's not. It's not the Wii. That's what I'm saying. But I think
another question is: do you think that this remake could outsell the original game, or do you think it's gonna be? Because I'm pretty sure the old remake or the old. Not remakes, what am I trying to say? Yeah, the older remakes, like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, have those been holding up? Like, and I don't look that much into sales. I figure you'll know better than me. I know collector value and all that stuff, but I don't know sales-wise. I assume Heart Gold and Soul Silver didn't even touch the dome when it was compared to the
Ruby
original
and
one.
Sapphire's lifetime sales.
Isn't that like the second most, probably, under the Kantos? Or?
Yeah.
Or Diamond and Pearl might be above it, because that
Ruby-
was really popular.
Ruby and Sapphire probably has, I'd say, around 7-8 million.
And I think it's slightly more,
and I think one thing we have to consider is that in Japan, where console gaming has all but died and handheld gaming is what people do, and where Pokemon is still the most popular, we're going to see tons of sales. As far as... I'd say... I think it's going to sell to everyone who played the games as kids, as well as the new people who are playing. So I think there's a fair chance that we will see it surpass the sales of the original game. It's already at over 1 million pre-orders in Japan alone, and that's an outrageous number. That's a good sign so far. Holy fuck.
Do you think it's going to outsell X and Y based on nostalgia, or?
Ooh.
That's a...
Well, X and Y, if I remember correctly...
How did I win that? I was doing shit for like the first half. And that's how you
if I remember correctly, X and Y sold about 11 million, maybe a little more. So, I mean... I think it could easily surpass it. I think it could easily surpass it. Especially now that the 3DS is kind of more popular than ever.
Alright,
Does it have the total number?
I don't know. Okay, this is by best selling. global totals, red, blue, and green sold more than 30 million. By gold and silver, we were down to about 22.5 million. It looks like about 20 million. 20 million for Ruby Sapphire, which is the fourth highest grossing. Actually, yeah, they're under Diamond and Pearl. Oh wait, no, Diamond and Pearl, and then Ruby Sapphire is under that at about 15 million. Then Black and White after Ruby Sapphire, and then Pikachu, Pokemon Yellow, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, FireRed, Leaf Green, Platinum, Pokemon Black and White 2, Pokemon Emerald. I'm shocked Pokemon Emerald's the second lowest, and then Crystal's actually the lowest. This does not include X and Y though, I don't believe.
Well, last I heard...
So up to X and Y, but I mean, like, we have monumental sales from, and you can say that basically all these games are hugely successful. Even Pokemon Crystal made nearly 6 million in sales, but which is pretty damn good still. But I mean, like, if you're, like, even comparing it to, like, Red, Blue, and Green, and, like, I would say the hugely successful games, like the monumentally successful games, are basically FireRed and Leaf Green, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Black and White, Ruby Sapphire, Diamond Pearl, Gold and Silver, and Red, Blue, and Green. Here's a question I have based on that, and now we're kind of going off topic from the remakes, but that's fine. This is mainly supposed to be remakes. Do you think we'll ever see a Pokemon Renaissance like we saw those three generations? I mean, Diamond and Pearl surpassed Ruby Sapphire. I don't know why it did, but it did. Just kind of got back into the series. Do you think we can ever see Pokemon get back to those levels, like to those heights that we've seen back in the day? And I'm not even just talking about sales-wise. I'm talking about, like, do you think kids will ever be as nostalgic towards Pokemon,
I think Pokemon...
towards like the 96 to the people who played it primarily, like, started playing around like 96 to like 2004 generation, you know? Like the people that played generation 1 through 3, I'd say, were the most nostalgic towards it. Do you think those kids that are like 12, 13 now that might have started on Diamond and Pearl, do you think they are starting to, do you think they'll ever be as nostalgic towards Pokemon as those people that like land and stuff? Because although Diamond and Pearl did really well, do you think there's as much nostalgia towards it, and do you think that nostalgia for the series as much? Because I feel like the game was slightly less social at that point. Like at the time, you used to have the cord, you know, it was one person at a time, but it became a lot easier to just sit in a room and not even have to be next to each other.
I think the main problem is that, I mean, the original Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green came out at a time, like, the Pokemon games were even more successful in America originally than in Japan.
Well, the idea behind that too,
it kind of,
it was a very social game.
It was a social game.
It was really the first.
It was sold to kids.
Biggest social
it had
portable game. That is.
It had the tie-in anime, but it also came at a time when anime was popular. I mean, it was when it was acceptable to like
at
anime
the time
even
too.
as a
It's
teenager,
not. I don't
things
think
like
it's
Dragon
really.
Ball Z.
Well, I mean, a lot of people like anime still, and I don't think it's not acceptable. But the thing is, in American culture, you watch the first season, and it's not even fully like an anime, like so much Japanese culture. It's actually very like, kids watch that, and if they don't know what anime is, they wouldn't really notice a difference from their normal American cartoons. Because as a kid, I saw Pokemon as a cartoon. I didn't see it as an anime.
But you have to remember that Pokemon back then was also wildly successful with people even my age, around 18, 19. Because back then, there wasn't a kind of, I guess, stigma against anime like there is now. Like, everybody watched Dragon Ball, everybody watched Pokemon, everyone watched Yu-Gi-Oh!
Here's the thing. I think now things are more seen as anime, now that things are more seen as anime, but at the time, like, even kids, I'm sure, in, like, the 90s, like, obviously, like, the peak of Dragon Ball, I was too young to really be there, but, like, even then, like, how much were these considered, like, now, you see a show like Naruto, and, like, even as a kid, I considered that an anime. Even around the same time that I still considered Pokemon more cartoony. I think do you think it depends how much integrated it is with the culture abroad? Like, do you think part of that had to do with it? Because you could see, I can see how that's very Japanese, but at the same time, you look at that and you can imagine Pallet Town and Kanto being America. You can imagine it basically being any country, just based how it's set up. Because it wasn't too, they're obviously parts of the culture, but I mean, especially the 4Kids show, like when they had like the rice patties and they called them donuts and stuff. And it's clearly like whatever the hell those were supposed to be. Like, yeah, I don't know. So I think part of it's integration, but do you think Pokemon, like as an anime, as a thing, do you think we could ever get to that point where it's as social, or do you think? Based on the fact that everything is such a social within the gaming world now, like I can pull out my Xbox and I don't even have to be in the same room. I can be playing with someone across the country in real time. And back then, the social aspect was sit on the couch or
between
have two systems.
Between phone games that are all just based on social and online gaming, I don't know if Pokemon's social features are really something that really makes people connect with each other anymore. I think the only thing that would really put Pokemon back on the map the way it was in Red, Blue, and Green would be, I mean, you would have to be pretty ridiculous tier, like hologram fighting Pokemon. Like, I mean, I just don't think that.
And two, Diamond and Pearl was a more successful game than Ruby and Sapphire. Good for that. But the thing is, I have a lot of nostalgia towards playing Ruby and Sapphire because, especially in like school and stuff, I would bring my link cable and we link Game Boy Advances and play with other kids. So I actually have more nostalgia, and I think part of the reason I still buy this series is based on how much nostalgia I have from when I was a kid playing those games with the other people. So the question is, with something like Diamond and Pearl where the game became less social, and a lot of the reason it sold so well was people based on nostalgia, do you think that game's going to have enough nostalgia behind it to sell close to as good? And I think actually these remakes are a good way to tell, like, based on the remakes sales, based on the sales of these remakes, how nostalgic people are towards these franchises and such. Like, it's going to be interesting because I don't think the Diamond and Pearl, when they get a remake, I don't think it's going to touch Ruby and Sapphire unless there's a huge renaissance in Pokemon.
Diamond and Pearl, I think in the coming years, as the people who played Diamond and Pearl when they were 5 or 6 start to grow up, we'll start to see an increasing amount of people looking for the Diamond and Pearl remakes. But I don't think that it's ever gonna.
But here's the other thing.
I don't think it's gonna reach the popularity levels that the Ruby Sapphire.
Here's what you gotta
remakes
consider
or the other remakes.
Games, even back in like 2003 and stuff, we had a lot of like the more cartoony games, like. But now all the games are basically starting off mature. There are 6-year-old kids that play Call of Duty, a lot more, and so a lot of kids are having more nostalgia towards like those types of games over this type of game. So I'm not sure they're going to be captured so much by nostalgia because Diamond and Pearl are just kind of a game they played, but a lot of these people preferred those Call of Duty games because, you know, killing people's cool and shit, you know?
The primary audience for Pokemon is more people like us than people like them.
Nowadays it is. And the thing is, the nostalgia kind of wears off because you had a portable console and everyone had that Pokemon game. But now most of those people are, they grew up console-wise with like the Xbox and stuff. A lot of those people that were 5 and 6 in like 2007, so they're more used to games like Assassin's Creed and stuff. So will we see? So that's why. Do you think the nostalgia, comparatively to even Ruby Sapphire, are going to wear down? Because like PS2 back in the day had a lot of options for kids. Like even Jack and Dexter was a little more cartoony, and with that, kids weren't as, you know, because now you kind of get shined in a negative light if you play those quote-unquote more cartoony kids game, less gritty. So I don't think people are as open to playing them, and I think that's why the nostalgia might die down a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I see what you mean. I don't know. with the Diamond and Pearl, I think it's something we're really going to need to wait for before we... I mean, I think it'll happen eventually, but I think we're also going to have to kind of wait for the fans to decide themselves if that's something that they actually want. Use the D-pads at yourself. I think it's going to kind of rely on the fan base to tell Nintendo that they want it before Nintendo's going to try to go ahead with it. It's not...
What's my launch button?
You have to pull the stick back and then release it.
I think it's like this generation specifically is a great like especially November 21st is proving up that people who were like our age and stuff, these games were coming out. This is like the renaissance. I think they're kind of going back to that day because I think Nintendo's being smart and trying to capture nostalgia towards some of the people our age that didn't grow up with the couch games. They're trying to get back to that audience. I think that's a smart direction to go because a lot and they've also been holding the nostalgia of the people that are growing up with like the NES, but they know people our age are starting to get deeper pockets. They're getting older, so if they can capture the nostalgia and keep the nostalgia from those people who grew up with NES, grew up with SNES, and now expand that to the people that grew up with N64 and GameCube, I think Nintendo has a good future.
Okay, I got one.
And it's also smart so they don't have to beat a dead horse like the Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, etc.
Tap B or A depending on what place. I have another interesting one. It's slightly related. Do you think we'll see another console Pokemon RPG like Coliseum anytime soon?
That's a good question. I feel like that would be cool.
And I think the problem with it is,
especially
the
3DS
is
I was going to go on to say that the 3DS is so similar to the capability-wise of what consoles can do. Like, it can't play at the same graphically, or it can't hold up graphically. But I mean, in the way of a Pokemon game, we basically had the same thing we had with Coliseum on the 3DS with X and Y. So the more realistic world game wouldn't work. And I think if the Wii was more open to using a controller, like a side controller, like the Pro Controller and stuff, I think we would have seen those go through with the Wii and stuff. But now at this point, I don't think Nintendo and Pokemon Team are going to think it's necessary. And with portable sales in Japan and stuff being the primary thing, and Japan's like the main breadwinner for Pokemon right now, I don't think we're going to see anytime soon, at least, another console Pokemon, unless they try and do something dramatically different with it.
Besides, of course, Pokken.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course Pokken, but I mean RPG style, similar fighting styles and shit. But really, we should probably cut off this video because we're going pretty long.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Nothing that hasn't been said.
All right. Me neither. Basically, those are my real thoughts on Pokemon Remakes. And I guess we went a little into sales and other things and nostalgia in general. But those are our thoughts on the Pokemon Remakes. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and Smash videos are coming out soon. I don't know if we're going to be able to afford both right away or what we're going to do. We'll probably try and split it 50-50, but yeah, who knows. We'll probably figure out within the next week what's going on. But all that said, thanks for watching, guys. We really appreciate it. Also, I want to point out one more thing. Me and Aiden are planning on trying to do more series, kind of like this, starting a few new series. So stay tuned for those. You'll kind of learn about those more later. But we're trying to start more things than just Let's Plays, because although those are fun, I think we can expand the channel and kind of do different things with it that are more different from other channels. So for those...
We have an interesting one coming up pretty soon.
We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later, but the video should come out a few days.
Yeah, we'll probably do
following this video.
We don't know, because we're kind of planning the series, so we might get some in the bank. We might just release them as we finish them. Who knows yet? But yes. Anyways,
that's all for today. So we'll see you guys later. And we have another topic lined up, so who knows when that'll be out.